Hola, mis estudiantes maravillosos. I am going to walk you through this presentation in English, so everything's very clear. Yeah, so your only job for today is to listen to me talk about the AP exam. So this is everything I know so far about your AP Spanish language and culture exam. So the date is Friday, May 22nd at 4 p.m. It is the very last exam of all of the exams. There is a June makeup date if you have some sort of problem happen. But to start, everyone is going to take the test on Friday, May 22nd at 4 o'clock p.m. The time is set. You can't do it 5 minutes earlier, 5 minutes later. It's going to be occurring at the same time across the country. For example, in California, they will be taking the test at 1 p.m. So it's a very set, specific time, and there's no wiggle room on that. It's going to be at your house. Obviously, we're not even allowed to go anywhere, so you will have to take it at your house. So you want to think about where in your house would be a good place to take the test. This was the big news that they gave me on April 3rd that I shared with some of you who had a Google Meet with me that day. The only two tasks are the free response tasks 3 and 4, which are the speaking tasks. The College Board chalks that up to those being the two tasks that that students were less likely to cheat on because it's difficult to cheat on your speaking skills. I mean, you have what you have. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but that's why they chose these two. Those two tasks are the simulated conversation and the cultural comparison, which I'll explain a little bit more. So before I do that, you're required to have a device, it can be a phone, tablet, or computer, and you're going to record yourself on that device and upload your recording to the College Board website. You need reliable Wi-Fi, speakers, a microphone, and a quiet place to do this. If you have a problem with this, you need a device, you have any other issues, I need you to let me know as soon as possible, and I will be in touch with Mr. Dumford to see how we can resolve that. So we have some time, but I think April 21st, I want to say, was the date where was they needed to know if you have any sort of technology needs. So please let me know as soon as possible. Remember, as I said in our last Google Meet, if you do not want to take the test anymore, you should have contacted Mr. Dumford, and his email's there on the screen. And they are refunding money, or they were. I don't know if they still are. I assume they still are. So let's talk about these two tasks. Tarea tres. This, unfortunately, we have not practiced. It was our last thing to practice. Remember, I had that little list up on the board, the multiple choice and the essay and the email and all these things we were practicing. And this was just our last one, and we didn't get to it before the school closed. However, you will be practicing. I will be assigning a lot of practice to you over the next few weeks, and the College Board says they will be providing some like simulation exercises so that you can see exactly what it will be like on the day of the exam. In a nutshell, you're having a conversation with a computer. So you will hear 5 recordings, all from the quote unquote same person. So it's like you're having a conversation with one person. The computer is going to say 5 things. The computer is the one person. They're going to say 5 things. They're going to ask you 5 questions. You don't know what the question is until you hear it. Okay. And there are 20 seconds between each of these 5 pieces of the conversation. that you have to talk, and it's supposed to be immediate and spontaneous. So it is not something you have time to listen to twice. It is not something you have time to like think about or take notes on. It's just you hear it and you have to react. Okay. So it might be something like, Hola, buenos días. ¿Te gustaría ir conmigo este fin de semana a hacer trabajo voluntario en el centro comunitario? Right? So it's like, hi, good morning. Would you like to go with me? And it gives you some context. So before the conversation starts, you'll hear an introduction. It'll say like, this conversation is between you and your friend Paco, and you're talking about volunteer work or something like that. And then you'll hear the conversation start. So let's say he asks you if you want to do volunteer work at the community center. You would have to respond to that for 20 seconds, right? You could say, Hola Paco, muchas gracias por ofrecerme esta oportunidad. Yo quiero ir contigo al centro comunitario a hacer trabajo voluntario porque me encanta ayudar a la gente en nuestra comunidad, porque es una responsabilidad que tomo muy en serio, right? So something like that, where you're saying, you're greeting him and you're giving an answer and you're explaining why, but you have to talk for 20 seconds. It is better to get cut off after 20 seconds than to have any silence of that 20 seconds, is what they always say. So you'll hear a beep, beep, you'll start talking, and at the end of 20 seconds, you'll hear beep again, and then you will stop talking. But like I said, it's better to get cut off than to only talk for 18 seconds and have a couple seconds of silence. So that you'll do 5 times, but again, it's all one conversation. The weird thing about it is it's a computer that you're having a conversation with, so you don't know, they can't actually respond to your answer because they don't know what you say because it's just a computer. We'll practice that, but that is 50% of your AP score. The other 50% of your AP score is the cultural comparison. Now, this we have practiced. We practiced one at the end of the week before spring break. Remember, you have 4 minutes to prepare a 2-minute oral presentation. And if you guys look in your notebook, you have some structure there. Now, the good thing is it's kind of like an open note exam. So, hang on, what? Okay, so it's all of your AP exams are kind of like open notes. So you guys can have, the notebook that we had made in class, you can use that to help you with your cultural comparison. Okay. So that's kind of good news. It helps you to remember like what you want your format to look like, that you need to have similarities and differences, an opening, a conclusion, all those sorts of things. So make sure you're utilizing that when you're doing the cultural comparison. Sorry for the interruption, guys. Noelia needed something. Here you go. Okay. So in conclusion, your entire AP Spanish language and culture grade will be based on 3 minutes of speaking, which is kind of terrifying, right? Like, oh my gosh, all this work, and it's coming down to 3 minutes of speaking. However, I have a couple of pieces of information that I will share to kind of like help you feel better about that. But just to reiterate, there's no writing, right? There's no email, there's no essay. The only writing will be like if you're taking notes, right, to prepare your cultural comparison or whatever. There's no reading. The only reading you'll see is maybe like the instructions or introductions, and there's no multiple choice. Okay. That's kind of crazy, but that's the way it is. I'm gonna walk you guys through what each of these tasks traditionally look like. And then, like I said, College Board in the future will be providing, supposedly they said they would be providing some like simulation experiences. So you'll be able to feel exactly what you'll feel on the day of the exam. But the two things I was going to share with you to kind of help you guys feel better about the speaking being all of your Spanish, your AP Spanish grade score, is that one, my students typically do well on this part. Here's the problem. You guys have now been out of school for a month or whatever, and then there's still another entire month before the exam, give or take a few days. So, whereas traditionally my students are speaking Spanish every single day, even though it's just for, 50 minutes a day, in class, they're hearing, they're speaking, they're practicing those skills. You guys have to find a way to speak Spanish. I'm going to give you practice tasks. I'm going to give you guys assignments to partner up with each other to speak Spanish, but you have to keep the Spanish flowing. So I know I've said it a few times, but just to reiterate, listen to music, sing along, watch movies, find somebody to speak Spanish with, right? You have to try because that skill is lost so very fast. Okay, so just make sure you're making that a priority. Okay, but typically my students do well on the speaking part. So that's one thing. The other thing that could be reassuring to you is that when they create the curve, I already shared this with some of you, when they create the curve for the scores, every year it's a little bit different. But when they decide what's a 2, what's a 3, what's a 4, right? They're kind of in that place. They take away the speaking from the heritage speakers. They take that out of the calculation. I don't know if I'm explaining myself. So basically, all the native speakers, there are like hundreds and thousands of native speakers of Spanish who take this test. Their performance is not calculated into that curve. So they take all of them out. And then all of the rest of us who are not native speakers, they are like, your work is being compared to them, not to the native speakers. I'll try to clarify that again later, but hopefully that makes you feel a little bit better too. Okay. All right, I'm gonna stop talking because I know it's hard to watch these presentations where you're not even looking at anybody, but just be on the lookout for some further information as we progress throughout the week. Okay. All right, I miss you guys very much. See if I can stop this. And thanks for listening. Sorry I say so much, and sorry my kids interrupted, but if you've been on the Google Meet, you know that that's just my life. All right, miss you guys. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.